A Biden-appointed federal judge issues a temporary block on the planned deportation of an illegal immigrant terrorist's family. President Trump officially orders Attorney General Pam Bondi to launch a full-scale investigation into the Biden autopen and health collapse cover-up scandals. And former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre announces her own expose book. I'm Tony Kinnett, host of the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Thursday, June 5th, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. After the Trump administration announced the detainment and planned deportation of the family of the Colorado illegal immigrant and terrorist who was arrested after setting women and children on fire at a demonstration in solidarity with Hamas-held hostages, legacy media described the action to deport the family as cruel. A USA Today reporter wrote a long article about how the 18-year-old daughter had recently arrived in the United States to study medicine, and MSNBC indicated yesterday morning that this was just some kind of an action that Trump was always falling back onto, deporting families.
Making an example is understating it, Willie. White House almost gloating at Victory Lap. A number of tweets last night about about this suspect's family, rushing them out. And I was told by a White House advisor late yesterday that this is sort of the plan here. Is that we know from covering Donald Trump for a long time, his reflex is always to come back to immigration. He believes that's a signature issue. He believes that's what got him elected, and that Americans want to see things like this. Now, in this case, obviously, we don't know the family's involvement. The suspect's accused of a heinous crime. There are certainly plenty of Americans who would be glad to see him go, but might have questions about the family. But they're leaning into this sort of in-your-face imagery that didn't necessarily work per polling earlier this term with this deportations to the El Salvador prison and the like, but they're doubling down on that sort of public image now.
Yeah. This brings us to Judge Gordon Gallagher, the Biden-appointed U.S. District Court judge for Colorado. Yesterday evening, he issued a temporary block to the deportation of Hayam El-Gamal, the wife of Mohammed Solomon, and their children, in order to preserve the court's jurisdiction over the case. That's the way that CBS News framed it. Judge Gallagher wrote that if these individuals were to be deported, these particular individuals who were not citizens of the United States, who had not come here through the seeking of visa or legal immigration process, but had simply showed up with their father who had overstayed his visa and then claimed asylum, suggested that deporting these individuals after this terror attack could cause, quote, irreparable harm, end quote. It should be said that irreparable harm was in fact done to the women and children who suffered under the firebombing terrorist attack of Mohammed Solomon. It's also worth noting that Judge Gallagher's appointment and confirmation was not a unanimous move. In fact, it was highly contested. He only narrowly was confirmed by the Senate with a vote of 53 to 43. The Republican senators who voted alongside Democrats to confirm Gallagher were Chuck Grassley of Iowa, Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, Susan Collins of Maine, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. And yesterday evening, President Donald Trump ordered Pam Bondi to officially begin a full-scale investigation into both the Biden autopen scandal as well as any individuals who may have covered up the mental and physical collapse of the prior president of the United States during his tenure in office. According to the documents released yesterday evening, the counsel to the president, in consultation with the Attorney General and the head of any other relevant executive department or agency, shall investigate to the extent permitted by law whether certain individuals conspired to deceive the public about Biden's mental state and unconstitutionally exercise the authorities and responsibilities of the president. This investigation shall address any activity, coordinated or otherwise, to purposefully shield the public from information regarding Biden's mental and physical health, any agreements between Biden's aides to cooperatively and falsely deem recorded videos of the president's cognitive inability as fake, any agreements between Biden's aides to require false public statements elevating the president's capabilities, and the purpose of these activities, including to assert the authorities of the president. The counsel to the president shall also investigate, in consultation with the Attorney General and the head of any other relevant agency, the circumstances surrounding Biden's supposed execution of numerous executive actions during his final years in office. These would include things that the autopen was used for, like clemency grants, executive orders, presidential memoranda, or other presidential policy decisions. And last and least, former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre has announced her own expose book called Independent, in which she asserts that she is now leaving the Democrat Party, invites others to join her and stand alongside her as long as they believe exactly what she believes, and suggests that she's releasing this book out on October to move away from thinking in boxes. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and I am the author of a new book that's coming out this fall called Independent. It's coming out on October 21st, so please do grab it. And the reason I wrote this book, coming out of the White House, serving as White House Press Secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, and sometimes right in my neighborhood, at a grocery store, supermarket, airport, my daughter's school, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next? Because we don't have answers here. That's what they ask me. And this is my answer. And what I mean by that is, in an era of misinformation, disinformation, the regressiveness of social policy, what we're seeing currently right now, what I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass. And that's what I've done. And that's what this book does. And here's the truth. And here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. And the way that I see moving forward in this space that we're in right now is, if you are willing to stand side by side with me, regardless of your how you identify politically, and as long as you respect the community that I belong to and vulnerable communities that I respect, I will be there with you. I will move forward with you. And that is, I think, so important. So this book, Independent, it's about looking outside of boxes, not just always being in a partisan stance. And how do we move forward together in a compassionate way, in a way that really, truly cares about people?
For those who are listening to the podcast side of things and didn't catch the video version of that book is to be released in October, or October, as those who spell correctly might note. Just as a bonus, here at the end of this Top News in 10, 2 top headlines out of Columbia University in New York. The U.S. Department of Education has notified Columbia University's accreditor of Columbia's Title VI violations. In essence, the accrediting agency that granted Columbia University the benefit of telling everyone they are a very good school that performs well academically, that follows federal law, that agency has now been informed that Columbia University, through its series of racist, sexist, and bigoted actions violating civil rights law. Additionally, the New York Post and the Department of Justice have released information showing a direct link between a Columbia University protester to Hamas deadly Al-Qassam Brigade's militant group. An individual leading several of the protests at Columbia University's campus, Tarek Bazrouk, a self-professed Jew hater, is currently awaiting trial after being indicted on 3 federal hate crimes against Jewish people, has now been found to have received regular updates from Abu Obaida, an official spokesperson for a particularly violent Hamas terror brigade. So not only was this individual particularly passionate about anti-Zionist, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish actions on college campuses, but he was taking what appear to be direct and specific orders from Hamas militant groups abroad. Given the situation in Colorado in which an individual attacked those with firebombing, it is especially concerning in this case that Bazrouk apparently contemplated setting a student on fire in his protests at Columbia. Before you go, head down to the description and make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kindedcast. And join us tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern for a closer look at the latest regarding Judge Boasberg of Washington, D.C.'s latest series of demands of the President of the United States and his foreign policy team, and everyone's favorite MS-13 wife-beater, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, mistakenly called the Maryland Man. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Go Pacers, and take care.